All right, you guys, welcome back to the Inside Edit. I am so excited to be doing a solo episode today. I recently did a Q&A on my Instagram because I wanted to answer the questions that you guys wanted to know, which is so fun, by the way. And so many of you know like the weirdest, most interesting things about me. So thank you for that. I'm just going to read off the questions from my phone. The first one is, how are you really? Which is so nice. I think we should all ask each other that more often of how are we really? Um, you guys, I'm great. I just got back from Paris and London. I went to London for work and they were so kind and they brought Zach with me, which was so magical. He had never been to London or Paris. And so I got to show him these two obviously magical, incredible cities. He's a surfer. He's never prioritized really traveling to Europe. He's just always chasing waves all over the place. So it was so fun and it was so magical. And you guys saw my haul. I did some pretty crazy shopping. I was recently on Liv Perez's podcast and she was asking me questions about like, where am I at with my closet rebuilds and everything since the fire. And I was saying how I was so focused on sort of creating like a capsule wardrobe for myself and pieces that will mix and match. And now that I have that, I realized I have just like so many basics and I'm kind of missing those special pieces that really make, a wardrobe unique and special. And I find that vintage is such a great way to incorporate like the star pieces. And I obviously didn't have any of that. And that was a huge part of my wardrobe before the fire. So I specifically hunted down the best vintage places, and a lot of you guys were asking me where I went. So I wanted to share that in London, I went to the most incredible fashion archive. The store is called Lovers Lane Vintage, and it's owned by the most beautiful mother daughter duo. Charlotte, the daughter, was so sweet and knew exactly what I was looking for when I told her what I was into, what brands I like, what designers. Guys, it's not cheap. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not like this is a very high-end archive. These pieces are impeccable condition, crazy runway pieces, crazy archive, but it's not cheap. So just know that going into it. I found the most incredible pieces there, but I definitely had to like reel it in a little bit. Also, the conversion rate wasn't amazing. So I had to reel myself in. I would have gone crazy if I had unlimited funds. And then the place that I found in Paris, there was a couple places I also went to in London that were like okay, and I don't have much to say about them if I'm honest. I didn't have much success, but in Paris, I was specifically heading to this vintage store and for some reason, I like turned my head to the left and saw this like vintage Terry Mugler like on a mannequin. I could just tell from across the street. And I was like, oh, let me walk over there. And I end up walking into this store that is like probably 400 square feet, tiny little store. And piece after piece after piece was like archival Mugler, archival YSL. It was so crazy. I just couldn't believe I found this place. And let me tell you the name of it because everyone's been asking and I really wish I could gatekeep this, but I feel like I can't be that girl. The store is Marie Olive and he's in the Marais, and I mean, I just feel like I've never seen a place like that. And it's expensive, but it's not what the other one was. So I was able to pick up quite a few pieces and definitely worth a visit if you're in Paris. I had the most amazing experience. I'm like in the store shopping and this woman walks in with her son and his girlfriend, and the store is so small and like we're so cramped in there, and she's talking in French to the shop owner and we're just obviously I don't understand anything they're saying, and then all of a sudden in English she says, "My house burned down in the Palisades fire." And I was like literally what? Like how is that possible? So I like peek my head out of the dressing room and I'm like, me too. Like, that's so crazy. And we literally just gave each other the longest hug ever. And she told us her story. And she like lived there for 26 years and she wasn't home and she raised her son there. He went to school in the Palisades and they lost everything and didn't get to save a single thing in their house. And she was also shopping for cool pieces and ended up moving back to Europe and is done with California. So it was a pretty crazy experience. Really sweet, really like, wow, like how does that happen in such a big city? Like, why did she say that in English so I could understand it? I just felt like a God moment, It was pretty cool. So someone asked how I'm doing post Palisades fire, and you guys, it's like grief. It's like when someone dies and you're okay for a little bit, and then it just hits you and you're not okay. And I I personally do therapy. I do therapy every 2 weeks, and was talking about something completely unrelated, but I think I'd sort of just opened it up a little bit and just started completely sobbing about it, and just I think it's important to acknowledge that it was like an extremely traumatic experience. And I think when you go through trauma, sometimes you try to like push it down or compartmentalize it because you just need to survive it. And when I really sometimes think about the moment of Zach and I having to run, like it was not just about our house and losing everything, but I have this vivid memory of me having to like run for my life and thinking, are we going to die right now? Like that's just been hard, I guess, to grapple with, but I also try to just stay in like gratitude for what we do have, and that we got our animals and that we are okay and that we've moved forward, but it comes and it goes. And that woman in Paris, I was like teary-eyed talking to her. It's like it's a real trauma that happens to so many people, and like I miss the Palisades a lot. Like it's one thing to lose your house, but to lose a whole town, all the restaurants you ate at, all the people you were used to seeing, like your daily life just being like completely erased is crazy. And I'm devastated at like the response to it, and just there was nothing really happening over there. It's like a big bummer. I'm going on Spencer Pratt's podcast in a few weeks. So we'll have a proper Palisades update from Spencer and Heidi's dirt lot, which, as funny as that is also just so fucking sad. And I haven't been back over there in a while because I felt like it's not really the best thing for my mental health, but it's also good to cry too, and just like, I don't know, but I don't go over there anymore. It just makes me sad. So, but I mean, overall, fine and grateful for this new chapter. Equally, like, sad. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little all over the place, if I'm honest. I miss my house. I still can't look at pictures of it. I think that is interesting. Like I literally can't scroll back in my camera roll or look my Instagram account like below past that day. Like I can't bring myself to look at it. So maybe one day that'll get easier, and try to just remember the fondness of it and the happy time, because it was the happiest time of my entire life was living there. But for some reason just can't even like look at it. Um Pretty sad. That's depressing. But it's okay. I don't know. I think I'll feel a lot better too when our house is done. We're like, we still don't have furniture. We have beds, we have like kitchen stools where we can eat, and we have outside furniture, but we have no couch, we have no chairs, we have no dining table. It's just taking a while to sort of pick out all that stuff and for it to get to us. So I'm sure it'll feel differently when we're like fully settled in our house and I can have like a cozy night on my living room couch. So, yeah. Thanks for asking. Okay, so the next question is also, it's a great follow-up question to this, is self-care and like how do I take care of myself so that I can take care of others. I've talked about this a lot. I think it's really important, and it's not just when you're in the service industry. I think when you're a mom or you're a wife or you're just giving a lot to other people, it's really important to fill yourself. The saying like put your mask on before you put on someone else's. Like I have learned that from an early age, with this career being so, high energy and always on the road and always moving and always busy, how you can burn out, how you can just feel completely deflated and empty. And so over the years I've learned how to do certain, to take care of myself essentially. And so a lot of people ask what those things are. I do get massage. I feel like that just really helps me. I hold all my tension in like my neck, my shoulders, my jaw. So to just release that. And she also does cupping on my back to try to get like whatever toxins are in my body out. I do IVs. I could do a whole episode on all the fucking things that are wrong with my body. I have I have a thyroid disorder called Hashimoto's. I unfortunately got bit by a tick last year, so I have Lyme's disease, which has really similar symptoms to the Hashimoto's, and it's almost impossible to tell which is which. because the symptoms sort of overlap. And then I have endometriosis. So I'm just like a fucking mess, but I'm doing my best to take care of myself. And that is like a lot of supplements, a lot of IVs. I try to get an IV every 2 weeks at my functional medicine doctor. They do reflexology to help move the energy. I do acupuncture once a week if I'm lucky, as long as I can like get in there, which really helps me a lot. And just on like a mindset basis, I think, having Gabby on the podcast a few weeks ago, if you haven't seen that episode, please get into it and get into her work. I feel like, you know, remembering how important our thoughts are, and when you're going through something, like you can manifest something negative as well as positive, so being really careful with the way that we talk to ourselves, the way I'll speak for myself, the way that I talk to myself can be really negative and really scary. And so I have to make a conscious effort to reprogram my thoughts and to remember to be positive over negative. I really like to meditate. I do not do it enough. And I also have this sort of practice that my therapist suggests. It's called purged emotional writing. And so you just write down in a notebook for 12 minutes. You don't look at it, you don't think about it, you don't reread it. You don't even need to you don't even, it could be chicken scratch. It's just about like getting your subconscious thoughts, negativity, whatever out on the page, and then you burn the page and you don't reread it, you don't look at it, but it just somehow cleans out. Sometimes we're carrying that heaviness, or don't know what to do in a certain situation. You're looking for clarity. I feel like this is a great tool and a great practice to get really clear about something. And I've used it in good times and in bad. I think it's really helpful. I didn't invent it. This is obviously something that lots of therapists believe in. On a smaller scale, and that's also obviously free, like sunshine is so healing. Just getting outside, getting fresh air. A huge reason why we moved to the valley was we just like needed fresh air after everything we've been through, and just wanting to get like out of the city. So taking the dogs on a walk and just, I don't know, grounding a little bit, putting my feet in the grass, I think is really important. When I was closer to the beach, I would sit and meditate, or just, watch the waves, watch the sunset, breathe deep. It's just really helpful to me. I'm a big believer in like nature is so healing. And we spend way too much time on our phones, fucking doom scrolling, all the things like, and we just really need to touch grass sometimes. Okay, the next question is, what is bothering you right now? The state of the world is bothering me a lot, I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not feel the heaviness, I guess, of like what's going on in our world and our political landscape and what's happening locally in LA. And I I have such complicated feelings about all of it, I guess. And so sometimes it's best for me, like I was saying, to get offline, and like stop the doom scrolling, because so much of it is out of our control. And I'm deeply sensitive and deeply empathic, and things bother me so much. And I just feel like I make myself sick. So I just feel like there's so much division. No one's really talking to each other, and it's a bummer. Okay, what is a trend that you are loving right now or predicting? What I've been seeing, because we're like mid fashion week right now, is like a lot of color blocking, or like mixing colors that you wouldn't normally think of, which I think is a really nice departure from this like very quiet luxury sort of simple place that I think we've been in for a while, which I love and serves its purpose. But I have said this quite a bit. I do feel like people are losing their like individuality a little bit, and things are starting to all look the same. And I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that, but I just think that what I want from fashion moving forward is just more individuality. I want people to be like, I fucking love that pink and that blue together, and I'm going to wear that, and not care what other people think. But I do think that that's going to be something we start seeing as fashion, as it always happens. Fashion is cyclical. This era of this, quiet luxury thing is essentially going to make its way out. I mean, it's not going to stay forever, in the same way that Nikes and every bright color aren't in anymore either, and we're just wearing Sambas. There'll be like a new thing sooner or later. I'm excited going into fall. I love to layer. I love coats. I love sweaters. I love mixing it all together. I feel inspired to get dressed more now that I am starting to build my closet back up and actually have pieces that I feel excited to wear. So, I personally am a fall dresser. I love getting dressed in the fall. The summer is way harder for me, even though I like feel better in the summer. I love fashion in the fall, so I'm excited. Okay. What is a styling mistake you see all the time? Honestly, my biggest pet peeve is bad tailoring. I obviously mistakes happen, things happen, whatever, but like not being able to tailor a gown's hemline properly is just like, I'm sorry. Like that's crazy business to me. I think tailoring makes or breaks an outfit, especially on a red carpet. The way that a piece can completely transform when it's taken in where needed and where it really shows off your silhouette in the right way, it just can completely change a look. And so that's my biggest pet peeve personally. I see these mistakes like kind of a lot and I don't understand it. It is a complicated subject because a lot of people don't want to pay for it. Clients don't want to pay for the tailoring. The brands don't want to pay for the tailoring. So it's like someone's got to do it. And maybe some people don't understand how important it is because they don't want to invest into it. But I personally think it's like a non negotiable. Oh my God, this is so funny. Okay, most embarrassing. Oh my God, most embarrassing outfit that I've ever worn is like basically oh god, you guys, I used to have, like, this rock and roll moment, like, it was skinny jeans with rips and, like, do you remember the Rodarte, like, little ankle boot with the multi snake skin and then, like, a rocker tee? Yeah, and, like, a really dark root. I was there. I do not put those pictures in this podcast, I will be pissed, but I don't know who she was. Like, I don't even know where that came from. I didn't have a single client who was like of that vibe. I don't know where she came from. I've definitely experimented a lot over the years. I feel like obviously that's what's so cool about fashion, but thank God I got it together in the last few years. Next question is, what is a boundary you are trying to set? Well, this is very interesting because I okay. I was starting to talk about this with Gabby Bernstein in our previous podcast, and this is something that I've personally been working on. When I was younger, and this isn't so much of a boundary, but more of a like work ethic, like pushing through things. When I was younger, I pushed really, really hard to get what I wanted, right? It was like go out every night and be out in the scene and meet people and say yes to everything and just like hustle, hustle, hustle and like chase people and follow up and like you meet someone and then you DM. Like, I just was like very, very hungry and very, very hustle, hustle, hustle in the beginning. And obviously that worked for a long time, like that obviously worked. I mean, look at what happened in my life and in my career. And I don't think that all of these success would have happened if I hadn't been like that. However, as I get older, that doesn't, and I obviously don't need to do that as much as I did because I've proven myself in a way or I've um shown what I am capable of doing. And so I don't need to push as hard, I guess. But what I find is I also sometimes sit back too much and I feel like I'm not putting myself out there enough anymore because it doesn't like align with me. Like I want to be in this place of what's meant for me will find me. You know what I mean? Like what's meant to come my way will come and I don't need to be in this like hustle, push, get it done mentality, but also I feel like things aren't happening fast enough. So it's a funny place to be and it's this isn't really about a boundary, but this is something I went back and did a Hoffman refresher course. It's called a Q2. So you go for 3 days and I was after you've done the process and I was talking to my teacher about it and it was like that served me for so many years, but it just doesn't serve who I am anymore. But who am I now? You know what I mean? Like who and how do I get the things that I want without pushing and sort of forcing energy, I guess. And still a work in progress. I don't have the answer fully, but I just filmed something with somebody who I can't wait for you guys to see next week and I literally told her what I wanted and she was like, "Yeah, I'll give that to you." So it's you also have to ask for what you want and maybe it's just about asking and not pushing. I don't know. Still learning. I also feel like going back to this boundary thing, I was thinking about with friends, for instance, like I have learned as I've gotten older, like really to just pour into the people who pour into me. The people who make an effort, who show up, who check in, who really actually do it, not the people who you're like, "Oh yeah, they're my friend." I remember, for instance, I had this friend and I felt like I was the one always reaching out. Like I felt like it was always me reaching out to make plans. And it kind of hit me one day and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do an experiment and I'm not going to reach out to her and just see what happens. And like I literally stopped hearing from her? And I'm like, that's all I need to know. There's no like hard feelings. But if you don't put effort into the friendship, I can't be the only one? And I think that that's really important in relationship and dating, obviously. Um, but in friendship of like who's rooting for you, if your friends aren't rooting for you, if they're not liking every fucking post and commenting, like I do that for my friends. I feel like it's a simple thing. We should all want each other to win and succeed. Not that the internet matters. Obviously, they need to call you in real life too. This is a great question. You guys are asking what I look for in an assistant. And as you probably know, my first assistant, Rachel, has been with me for like 7 years. So we definitely need to have her on the pod because I feel like she could answer so many amazing questions. She started as an intern and worked her way up. I had a first assistant a few years into her working with me who was going out on her own. And Rachel was kind of there. And I was like, I think you can do this, but I don't know if you can do this. And just gave her the shot to take that position and absolutely kills it and is the absolute best person ever. And I think what makes someone so good is anticipating the needs before they happen. And I think that just shows someone's value, like it just makes you feel like, okay, they're really paying attention. They know what needs to happen. I personally am not a micromanager as long as people are doing what they are paid to do and getting their job done. I don't feel like I need to like even ask. I'll give you an example. I am so accustomed to my first assistant knowing at the end of a fitting if we're doing a red carpet, we need to make sure that after the dress is picked, we have the right shoe, we have the right clutch, we have the jewelry. These are things that I don't even like think to check in on because I have Rachel and we just started working with someone new and I forgot that she's not a freaking mind reader. Rachel was out of town and like the morning of the Emmys I was like, "Wait, do we have a clutch?" And she was like, "Oh, no, I didn't know we needed that?" And I'm like, entirely fair that you didn't know that. You're obviously not a mind reader, but when you've been doing this for some time, you kind of just know like, okay, these are the things that we need. And I forget that I like needed to ask that, but lesson learned on my part. I think being a good boss is also taking accountability and knowing when things are your fault and not like projecting your weird shit on assistants. We've been hiring someone new for a second assistant role and had a pretty bad experience with someone that we brought in, which I obviously respectfully would never want to make her feel bad, but it just wasn't the right fit. A lack of work ethic would probably be the main cause of that not working out. And I think, you want to be around someone's energy who wants to be here, who's eager to learn, who is happy to come in every single day and soak up what is happening here. I mean, you're truly getting a front row seat. If this is what you want to do for a living, you're getting a front row seat. And with someone like me, you're seeing someone juggle multiple things. This isn't just me styling, it's also having a podcast and doing brand deals and traveling for brand deals. And I have a pretty like well-rounded career. And so you're getting to see that. And I think that I think that just adding value is probably like my biggest advice. Obviously, while we were bringing in this new person, we interviewed lots of different people. And I think sometimes it's just about like the energy, if everyone feels like it's the right fit. I will say, I noticed like I feel bad saying this, but one girl, for instance, was like so nervous. And then that kind of like made me nervous because, like, if you're this nervous, I need you to be like calm and you can handle this. And like, this is a stressful, kind of crazy job. And I need the energy to be like, I got it, not like freaked out, and if you're freaked out to meet me, I don't know. That didn't feel right. The other thing I could say about this too is like someone, can have a great interview and tell you all of the things that you want to hear. And then they get the job and they're in the room and you realize like this isn't the right fit, or like they didn't actually mean the things they said. And I remember looking at Rachel recently and saying, like, what did we like? Did we miss something? I'm such an accountability person. I'm like, did I ignore a red flag here, And like sometimes you don't. Like sometimes someone just tells you what you want to hear, but they're not actually able to live up to what they say they're able to bring to the table, And so sometimes those are like shitty lessons to learn. I have the absolutely most crazy assistant story ever. I wish I could tell you guys. I don't think I can, but maybe one day I'll have the balls to tell you, but it is the most diabolical, crazy, I can't believe this happened to me. I could write a movie about it. It was nuts. It was actually a nuts thing. But I can't talk about it. I can't. Someone asked what brands I'm obsessed with right now. I feel like Jacques Mousse I've been a fan of his since the very, very early days, but they did just open a store in LA, which is very exciting and it's very gorgeous. I love St. Agni. I think it's a really well-priced, sort of elevated basics brand. I wear a pair of their pants all the time. What else do I love? I love Acne. I feel like, I mean, they're expensive, but sometimes reasonable. Yeah, I mean, we obviously love Helsa. I love Guest in Residence for cashmere. I'm wearing this right now. This is Gigi Hadid's brand. I think it's like so well done and it's well priced. The other brand that I've been loving is the Row, which is just sometimes it's absurd, but sometimes the pieces are worth it. I also love Kate, but again, sometimes the prices are just diabolical, but it's beautiful and I appreciate it. I really appreciate fashion so much. I feel like, finding these vintage pieces recently really got me excited. It felt really good to find like unique pieces. I do feel like that's hard these days. Like things are looking a little bit of the same. And you have to hunt a little bit. Okay, what is the next bag on my wish list? You guys, I have decided I am ready for a Kelly. I have thought long and hard about it, and I'm ready. And now I have to play the Hermes game, which is not easy, as you all know. Um, I did try in Paris. It didn't work in my favor. That's okay. I'm going to figure it out in LA. But I think what's so great about these bags is they actually are worth the investment because if you buy this bag, like retail for $7,000. The second you walk out the store, it's worth $30,000 on the resale market. That's crazy. Not that I would resell it. Don't worry, Hermes. I will not resell it. But it's a crazy, crazy price jump. I'm a big fan. I also feel like after the fire, I had so many bags. It was sort of like my go-to, purchase. I would travel, I would, book a great job and I would buy myself a bag. And I didn't spend as much on clothes as I did as on bags and shoes because I feel like they're better investments. And so since the fire, I've bought less and just feel like investing in pieces like Hermes that are more for for your life. Hard to say when you've lost everything. God willing, that never happens again. I don't feel like lightning can strike twice. All right, you guys, thank you for your questions. This was so fun. Let's definitely do it again soon. Let me know if you like a pod like this where I'm sort of answering lots of different things or if you like it more focused on one subject. And make sure you come next week because I have an incredible guest for you guys. I am so excited for this episode and we'll tease it soon. Okay. Love you. Bye.